I watched Joan and Vicent huddled together inside the old elevator, their bodies pressed close more out of fear than love. The metal walls creak under their weight and age, throwing trembling yellow reflections that seem to dance on their own. The flickering display blinks past 4, 5, then hesitates, stuttering before revealing that dreaded 6. The elevator jerks to a halt so abruptly Joan nearly loses her balance, clutching Vicent's arm in a vice. The engine's groan dies into a suffocating silence, thick enough to smear against their skin. Their eyes meet, terror clear in every drop of sweat on his forehead. Then they look into the mirror. It throws back their image, Joan wide-eyed, breathless, Vicent trying to steady himself, panic etched in every line of his face, and something else. To Joan's left, nearly brushing her shoulder, stands a tall, thin shape, completely black. No face, no hands. Just a presence so heavy it seems to pull the air straight out of the elevator. Joan lets out a strangled sound, a scream that dies halfway up her throat. She spins to her side. Nothing, just empty space. Vicent does the same, his chest heaving, far too fast. When their eyes return to the mirror, the shadow has moved half a step closer. Then, as if something had exhaled an icy breath, the glass fogs up. Tiny beads of moisture swirl together, almost sketching out the shape of fingers before vanishing. The doors begin to open with a long, reluctant groan, revealing the corridor on floor 6, dark, still, as if holding its breath. You're in Tales of the Watcher, where fates are glimpsed, not told, and every step you take is seen by eyes you'll never meet. The air hums with secrets, daring you to listen. Stick around, subscribe for the journey, and in today's story, some weeks earlier, I watched them climb the building stairs, laughing, dizzy with the victory they thought they'd won. The building was old, with rusted iron railings traced with floral designs and a lobby crowned by chandeliers that must have once been glorious in the 50s. To Joan, an artist, it felt like a French film set. To Vicent, a scriptwriter, it was almost too poetic to be real. And the rent? A miracle. So absurdly cheap, they had to double-check the papers. Who questions a miracle when bills pile up? The building's caretaker, a small man with neatly combed, white hair, handed them the keys. Always polite, almost overly so, speaking too quickly, eyes darting about. Whenever Joan, ever curious, tried to coax a story about the building, especially floor 6, he stumbled over his words, glanced at his watch, and rushed off. Their first night there, they celebrated with pizza on the bare floor and cheap wine in plastic cups. They traded kisses and laughter, sure they'd finally found their piece of paradise. But as the night deepened, the building began whispering, soft, dragging footsteps above them, a door gently shutting somewhere higher up. Joan joked, "The ghosts are welcoming us." Vicent laughed, but his eyes lingered on the dark ceiling just a bit too long. When they finally turned off the light to sleep, a hallway bulb on floor 6, visible through the edge of their window, blinked 3 times before going dark for good. The following days wove a near-perfect routine. Joan painted through the afternoons, scattering brushes and canvases across the living room. Vicent typed away at his scripts, hoping to land gigs that would keep the lights on. Every so often, they'd steal lazy kisses on the balcony, believing they'd found heaven. But there was always something off, a strange echo in the halls, that skin-prickling sense of being watched whenever they passed the front desk. It was the elevator that finally shredded their calm. The first time Joan noticed it was a Tuesday night. Coming home from the market, arms heavy with bags, she watched the elevator stop at 6, even though she hadn't pressed that button. When the doors slid open, the corridor looked empty, except for a bulb that flickered like it was trying to send a coded message. She jammed the close button over and over, until the doors clamped shut. After that, the mirror became her enemy. Each time the elevator stopped on 6, the reflection betrayed them. At first it was subtle, a slight warp at the edges. Then it was unmistakable, a tall, stretched shape behind them, like a glitch or a stain. Vicent once pressed his palm to the glass, expecting cool, lifeless smoothness, and felt that, yes, but also something faintly pulsing beneath, like living muscle. One night he tried to record it, held his phone up to capture the mirror, but when they passed floor 6, the screen went black, fizzing with digital static, only to return 2 floors. Later, the saved video was nothing but noise, followed by a few seconds of piercing electronic shrieks. Joan started waking from nightmares, heart racing, convinced someone had whispered her name from a hallway that never ended. Vicent brushed it off as stress, but he checked the door lock 3, 4, 5 times before daring to crawl into bed beside her. That night, the fear turned urgent. Rain lashed at their windows, turning the glass into a quivering sheet that twisted the streetlights outside. Joan and Vicent decided it had to end. They needed to see floor 6 up close. Vicent opened the camera app, hand trembling. Joan squeezed his icy fingers. Together they crossed the lobby like condemned souls, each footstep echoing louder than seemed possible. Inside the elevator, the button for 6 almost glowed, faintly lit even before they pressed it. Joan paused. Then Vicent pushed it. The elevator rose grudgingly, groaning like it resented the journey. When the doors opened, they found a narrow hallway lined with frayed carpet spotted by dark stains that mapped out some dead continent. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, and the air was sweet with mildew and rust. The silence there was so total, it roared in their ears. They walked to the end, hands clenched tight, checked every door, all locked, some wrapped in chains, not a sound, not a breath. When they returned to the elevator, the mirror greeted them. In its reflection, they stood together. But now, deep at the end of the corridor, stood a towering shape, nearly brushing the ceiling, faceless, handless, so dense it swallowed every bit of light around it. The elevator doors snapped shut with violent speed, as if the car itself had decided to flee. Plunging down so fast, Joan crashed into Vicent. Their pounding hearts drowned out even the engine's rush. Days later, they woke to find a letter slipped under their door from the building's manager, announcing that the entire 6th floor was up for sale, almost a giveaway. One single lot, perfect for someone dreaming of a grand project. Joan, read it, eyes wide, hands shaking. Vicent took it, read again, then let out a nervous laugh. Babe, we could actually own our home. The entire floor, your studio, my office, our future. His words were warm, drenched in hope. Joan hugged him so tightly her heart drummed against his ribs. For the first time since moving in, the anxiety seemed to melt into pure joy. On signing day, they climbed the stairs hand in hand. The hallway on 6 seemed brighter somehow, the mildew scent less harsh, as if it was smiling just for them. Joan whispered, it must be a sign. Vicent squeezed her hand, desperate to believe. I watched it all, then sighed. Some dreams come, so cheap reality can't be bothered to charge more, because nightmares, they've already paid the rest up front.